The laughter came first, sharp and careless, echoing across the open land as rain clouds gathered low in the gray sky. People slowed their trucks just to stare. Some pointed. Others shook their heads. In the middle of it all stood a worn-down veteran named Ethan Walker, boots sinking into wet soil, hands caked with mud, beside his old dog Max, who stayed close like a shadow. Where others built shiny nail houses with factory wood and quick shortcuts, Ethan was stacking mud bricks by hand. To the world watching, it looked foolish. To Ethan, it was survival. Before the story goes any further, take a moment. If you believe in the silent hero and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Ethan had come back from war with more weight on his shoulders than medals could explain. The uniform was gone, the applause faded, and what remained was a man trying to rebuild life on a small piece of land in rural America. He had no family left who could help, no savings worth mentioning, and no patience for noise or crowds. The only soul that never left his side was Max, a once energetic German shepherd mix, whose muzzle was now gray, whose limp matched Ethan's own uneven walk. Together they had learned silence, the kind that comes from loss and long nights staring at nothing. The land Ethan bought was cheap, because no one wanted it. The soil was thick with clay, useless for crops, and the winters were harsh. The neighbors who moved in around him had different plans. They wanted fast results, clean walls, straight boards nailed together in neat lines. Their houses went up quickly, thin wooden frames wrapped in hope and pride. They mocked Ethan openly, calling his work outdated, weak, something from another century. Mud bricks, they said, would melt in rain and crumble in cold. They said a man who built like that had already given up on the future. Ethan never argued. He had learned long ago that explaining yourself to people who never listened was a waste of breath. He worked slowly, deliberately, mixing earth with straw, packing it into wooden molds, laying the bricks out to dry under the sun. His hands ached constantly. Some nights he slept inside a half-finished shelter with the smell of wet soil around him. Max curled against his chest to keep the cold away. Every brick he placed felt like a promise to himself that he would not be pushed out of this life too. Storm season came harder than anyone expected. Weeks of relentless rain turned roads into rivers and fields into swamps. The neighbors watched nervously as water crept closer to their new houses. Nails rusted, wood swelled, foundations shifted. The same people who laughed at Ethan now whispered fears they never shared out loud. They looked at his mud brick walls, thick and solid, soaked on the surface but firm at the core, and they didn't understand how they were still standing. One night, a violent storm tore through the area with winds that screamed like sirens. Rain fell sideways, pounding roofs without mercy. Ethan and Max stayed inside the mud brick shelter, listening as thunder rolled overhead. Water pressed against the walls but never broke through. The bricks absorbed the storm, holding firm, breathing slowly like the earth itself. Across the land, wooden houses groaned. Nails loosened. Roof panels lifted. By morning, damage was everywhere. Walls cracked. Floors warped. Some homes became unlivable overnight. That was the day the laughter stopped. Ethan stepped outside at dawn to see neighbors standing in shock, staring at their ruined houses. He didn't feel satisfaction. He felt a familiar heaviness, the same one he felt on battlefields when others suffered while he survived. Without a word, he opened his shelter to those who needed dry space. He shared what little food he had. Max moved gently among strangers, sensing fear the way he always did, resting his head on shaking knees, reminding people that calm still existed. Word spread quickly that Ethan's mud brick structure was the safest place around. People who once mocked now avoided eye contact, embarrassed by their earlier cruelty. Ethan didn't remind them. He didn't need apologies. He knew that survival humbles everyone eventually. Days turned into weeks as repairs dragged on. Some families never recovered financially. Insurance fell short. Savings vanished. Stress turned into arguments and exhaustion. Through it all, Ethan kept building, expanding his shelter carefully, reinforcing walls, fixing what the storm tested. Then came the second disaster, quieter but more destructive. A sudden cold snap hit before repairs were finished. Temperatures dropped far below average. Thin wooden walls offered no protection. Pipes froze and burst. Floors cracked. Families scrambled for heat. Once again, Ethan's mud brick walls held warmth like a memory, keeping the cold out steady and patient. The earth that once made people laugh now protected them. Something shifted in the community after that. People stopped seeing Ethan as strange. They started seeing him as skilled. They asked questions. They watched him work. Some even helped, learning how mud bricks were shaped, dried, stacked, and sealed. Ethan taught without pride, explaining that strength didn't always look modern and durability often came from patience. Max sat nearby during every lesson, tail thumping softly, as if approving each new set of hands willing to learn. But life tested Ethan again in a way no storm could prepare him for. Max's health began to fail. The dog who had crossed oceans with him, who had slept through gunfire and silence alike, now struggled to stand. Vet visits drained what little money Ethan had. Nights became longer, filled with fear that he might lose the last constant in his life. He worked less during the day, staying close to Max, building only when the dog rested comfortably in the shade. Neighbors noticed. This time, instead of mocking, they helped. Someone brought food. Another offered transportation. A small community fund appeared quietly, passed from hand to hand without announcements. Ethan accepted help reluctantly, but he accepted it. He was learning that strength also meant allowing others to carry weight sometimes. As months passed, something remarkable happened. The same neighbors who once rushed nail houses together began tearing them down willingly. They rebuilt using mud bricks, thicker walls, deeper foundations, slower methods. The land began to change. Houses blended into the earth instead of fighting it. Storms came and went with less damage. The community grew quieter, steadier, more connected. Ethan became a symbol, though he never asked to be one. Just before the end of this story, take a moment and comment below what the story made you feel. Your words matter more than you think. In the final stretch of the year, Max passed away peacefully, lying inside the shelter that had protected them both. Ethan buried him under a tree near the first wall they ever built together. The loss was deep, but it wasn't empty. Every brick around him carried memory. Every house standing strong in the community carried proof. The people who once laughed now lived inside lessons shaped by mud, patience, and quiet resilience. Ethan never rebuilt his life loudly. He didn't seek recognition or praise. He simply kept living, teaching, and building. And every time rain fell or cold winds blew without taking another home apart, the community remembered the veteran and his dog who chose earth over nails, silence over shouting, and